Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 173 of Show Viewers. Today we'll be going over episode 1166 of One Piece. Now, this episode is kind of short, and honestly, there's not much of substance that happens in it. But yeah, so we see as it starts off with Gunko and Shamrock, the Holy Knights, ultimately dealing with the two giants that they found in the castle, and we see as they head off to go wherever they plan on going. So we go back to the party that's going on for Luffy and them. We see as they're all kind of yammering up. We see as Jinbei is talking with some of the giants because they're not enamored, but they're astounded by his fishman appearance. And we just kind of see as everyone's kind of talking, chatting up, and ultimately we see as Yarul and speaking with Luffy about Nika because they get to speaking about Nika and all of that. And we see as there's varying debates on what Nika is because of the text that is portraying Nika in Elbaf culture, since it is of ancient, since it is of an ancient language. There's multiple ways to interpret it. So some people interpret it one way, some people interpret it another. And we see there a bit of a brawl breaks out. But yeah, so what we see is all this ends up discussing. We see ultimately as Jarul ends up discussing about how possibly that Loki and Harold ended up in the situation they did because they were trying to strive and be like Nika. And then we see as everyone kind of freaks out because Luffy asks, was Loki a good guy? And then everyone's like, no, Loki wasn't a good guy. He betrayed his father. He was prophesied to betray his father from the beginning. He killed the lucky horse that the royal family had. His mother ended up dying pretty soon after birth and all that crazy stuff. So yeah, and we see as he played pranks on villages and stuff like that as he was a kid. And we see as Luffy in fact learns, Loki isn't too great of a guy. But this does not keep him from wanting to search for the key. So we see ultimately he tries to escape and get away from the party, which he successfully does. However, he does not do this without getting noticed. And we see as Zoro, in fact, notices, and they go and discuss, and Luffy ends up having to spill the beans about how he's going to search for a key to release Loki, because Loki supposedly knows where Shanks is, and he can give Luffy this information if he ultimately releases him. And so we see ultimately Zoro's like, you know what? Yeah, I want to go with you too. So we see as they both prepare to end up going, and then Nami heard him as well. So we see as Nami ends up pulling up and she's like, okay, y'all wouldn't get anywhere without me because I'm a navigator. So I'm going with y'all. And she's also like, also, Roto's coming with us too, because we see as Roto had pulled up at the party to apologize to the Straw Hats, and everything was hunky-dory after that. But ultimately we see as Nami ended up recruiting him as one of her slaves as per usual, and he gets the lucky third place because apparently Zeus is on top and Sanji's second, and then Roto's down there. Or I can't remember exactly how the hierarchy was played out, but it's not really important. But yeah, so we see this, and we then see as they end up going to the castle to ultimately look for whatever they need. And we see as Nami is in fact only agreeing to go here because she wishes to find some treasure. And Roto should go in here because he wants to, bond with Nami since they're both navigators, and because he's indebted to her and her slave now. But yeah, so we see as that plays out, and then ultimately we end up swapping back to the perspective of the God's Knights, or the Holy Knights, whatever you want to call them. I'm just going to call them Gunko and Shamrock, because that's their names. So we see as they ultimately end up pulling up into the underworld where Loki is residing, and they come up to Loki and they're like, yo, join the Holy Knights, why don't you? And Loki's like, no, I'm not a bum, I'm not joining your celestial dragon, horrible association, the ranks of the most supreme knights. He's like, nah, I do not want that stuff. So ultimately, they're like, well, they get discussing about how some of their recon people had gotten taken away by a crow, so they know that Loki has emissaries, allies here in the underworld. And we see as he ends up calling up on this wolf who was supposed to attack the Holy Knights, and then we see as Gunko in fact uses her ability. Gunko is the woman, by the way. And she ends up using her abilities, which we see for the first time, which is this arrow thing. And the arrow can essentially, it kind of acts as a rope in a way, but it can make people move in a certain direction. It can wrap people around, all that crazy stuff. And so ultimately we see as Wolf is tied up and almost hung essentially, because we see as she constricts its throat and uses it as an ultimatum to Loki. She's like, all right, if you join the Knights, if you agree to join the Knights, then I'll let the wolf go. But Loki's like, nah, I ain't doing that. He's gonna die a warrior's death, and there's no need to be freaking out about it because he is willing to die this death. And we then see as Loki just talking about how he's going to destroy everything and all that. And that's really where the episode ends. But yeah, like I said, there wasn't that much substance for this episode, but it was still a good episode. And I'm ready to see where we go next week. And also, I'm ready to see let's cut that out because I about revealed a little bit about Shamrock. But I'm really ready to see oh my gosh, I'm really ready to get to see Shamrock in the anime and get to see him in action a little bit. But yeah, also, once again, I'm not big on how they did Gunko's eyes. I feel like Gunko's eyes should be more detailed. Like, yes, they look better now than when she first got introduced, but like, I feel like there should be more going on with the irises. Yes, she just has different colored eyes, but like, or heterochromia, that's what it's called. But like, I feel like they should be a little bit more detailed. That's the big problem I have personally with Gunko's design. But like, everything besides that, in this episode, it was good. Like, I really enjoyed it. And yeah, genuinely just a good episode all around. I saw it. I'm ready for us to start getting into more stuff though, because it's been a moment really since we've been like into stuff, and I know that stuff is coming up, so I'm just really ready to see that whenever it ends up ultimately coming in. But yeah, I thought that really was for it. Like I said, there was not much. There's not much substance. It's really just like a 20% substance and 80% kind of nothingness beast stuff going on in this episode. But yeah, that's all that really was for episode 1166 of the One Piece anime. That's all I really have for episode 173 of Show Review. So thank you very much for watching.